That's my brother.
Your brother was a fool.
You're nothing but a killer.
I've been called that.
Boy, you...
Every day I bring you another treasure from Hollywood's golden age, those unforgettable moments that shaped an era. If you want to keep the magic alive, hit that subscribe button. It's free for you, but it means the world to me. Thanks for being here. Behind the cameras of America's longest-running Western, chaos brewed like a storm no one saw coming. Scenes were banned, scripts were ripped apart overnight, and shocking rewrites left the cast speechless. CBS worked overtime to make sure the public never saw the real drama. Secret fights between stars, mysterious disappearances of footage, and moments so wild they were locked away forever. The world of Gunsmoke wasn't the peaceful Dodge City we saw on TV. It was a battlefield of egos and secrets hiding behind the dusty streets. The Hollywood frontier of Gunsmoke was nothing like the one on screen. Nobody imagined that the same show that gave us Marshal Matt Dillon keeping Dodge City safe was hiding a storm of forbidden moments. Off camera, the cast and crew were tangled in feuds, secret romances, strange accidents, and constant battles with CBS rules. Every episode had to survive a maze of censorship. If a scene looked too brutal, it vanished. If a joke crossed the line, it was buried in studio archives like it never happened. Even the writers weren't safe. Whole storylines they poured their hearts into were shut down before filming ever began. CBS wanted Gunsmoke to look strong and gritty, but still family-friendly, so anything too real or risky got erased before it could make history. And those smiling faces we saw on TV, many of them were hiding serious tension behind the scenes. The network didn't want anyone to know about the rivalries, the quiet feuds, or the personal struggles that brewed off set. CBS feared that if fans knew how much drama went down backstage, the show's wholesome image would crumble. So they kept it all under wraps, creating a culture of secrecy that was just as intense as any showdown in Dodge City. Everyone on set knew one thing for sure. What got filmed on Gunsmoke was not always what ended up on TV. The series nearly fell apart before it even had a chance to air. James Arness, the man who would become Marshal Matt Dillon, almost walked away from the role completely. He feared being trapped forever as just one character, and CBS didn't take his hesitation lightly.
You know, sometimes, Miss Kitty, you don't treat me like a man.
No reason why she should, kid. Kitty, huh? You won't have no trouble treating me like a man, Kitty.
Beat it, stranger.
What are you horning in here for?
Go on home to bed, kid.
When Arness started second-guessing the deal, the network dropped a harsh warning. They'd replace him without blinking. Under heavy pressure from the producers, Arness finally gave in, but it wasn't easy. Those early screen tests only made things messier. Some scenes were packed with violence that TV censors refused to let slide. CBS censors went into full panic mode after one particular clip from the unaired pilot showed Dillon shooting a man in cold blood. The network freaked out, saying it was way too brutal for family living rooms, and ordered the entire moment wiped from history. That decision nearly destroyed Gunsmoke before anyone even met the legendary Marshal Dillon. It's wild to think the show almost died before it began, but the chaos didn't stop there. Behind the scenes, things were just heating up. Between seasons 2 and 6, the tension between James Arness and Dennis Weaver quietly exploded. Arness, as the lead, kept getting the best scripts and spotlight moments, while Weaver, playing Chester, started to feel like a sidekick fading into the background. At first, the two got along fine, but as the fame grew, so did the resentment. Crew members whispered about the chilly atmosphere on set, and soon those small disagreements turned into a full-blown behind-the-scenes standoff. People on set even had a name for it. They called it the Dodge City Cold War, because the tension never blew up publicly, but everyone could feel it simmering under the surface for years. The rivalry between James Arness and Dennis Weaver finally hit its breaking point during a fight scene that went completely off the rails. What was supposed to be a safe, choreographed scuffle between Dillon and Chester suddenly turned real. Both actors pushed the scene harder than planned. Punches got rough, and tension boiled over. Things got so intense that Weaver ended up actually injured on set. Production shut down instantly, and CBS jumped into crisis mode. The network ordered the entire fight reshot in a calmer, more family-friendly way, then destroyed the original footage so no one would ever see just how real that clash had gotten. That incident made their already rocky relationship even worse. The studio scrambled to keep the story from leaking, but whispers spread fast among the crew. Everyone knew the feud between the two stars had officially crossed a line. Meanwhile, Amanda Blake, Miss Kitty herself, was dealing with her own share of behind-the-scenes drama. During a hectic saloon shoot, she suffered a wardrobe malfunction that shocked everyone on set. The slip lasted only a second, but the cameras caught it crystal clear. CBS panicked immediately and ordered every frame of that footage burned, literally. They said it was way too risky to even keep locked in the archives. Not long after, another controversy hit. During a wild bar fight scene, Blake's dress tore by accident right in the middle of filming. Even though it wasn't planned, the network refused to air the episode at all. CBS claimed the moment crossed the line of what family television should show, so they shelved the entire episode for good. Only a handful of people ever saw the full, uncut version before it disappeared into studio storage forever. And while all this chaos unfolded, Milburn Stone, Doc Adams, was quietly fighting his own battle. Normally calm and professional, he flat out refused to perform a medical scene he said was both morally wrong and completely inaccurate. That sparked a heated argument between him and a producer, adding yet another layer of tension to a set that was already ready to explode. After that heated argument, Milburn Stone had enough. He walked straight off the set. CBS was stunned, but refused to replace him.
Let me tell you something. If you'd spend a little more time out working instead of sitting around in here, you might make something.
Gosh, you might have known it. Here I was getting proposed to, and you come in here and spoil it.
Oh, you're proposing?
Yes, it's true. And you turn it down again, I don't know.
Oh, well, you can't expect these young fellas to make up their mind in a hurry, you know.
I thought you'd be over there waiting for the stage from Hay City.
I was.
Is it coming yet?
No.
My gosh, 4 hours late, ain't it?
Yeah. Have a beer, Marshall? All right, Sam, thanks.
Instead, the network decided to scrap the entire controversial scene altogether. Soon after, Doc Adams mysteriously vanished from Gunsmoke for 5 whole episodes. Fans were left confused, but CBS quickly covered it up with fake press statements claiming Stone needed rest. Only the cast and crew knew the truth. Doc's sudden disappearance was punishment for standing his ground. But that wasn't the only secret brewing in Dodge City. One of Gunsmoke's most surprising behind-the-scenes stories involved a forbidden romance that CBS tried to erase completely. For years, fans had wondered if Marshal Matt Dillon and Miss Kitty had deeper feelings beneath their professional friendship. Then one rare script finally dared to explore that question. In the episode, the writers crafted a touching scene showing Dillon and Kitty sharing a quiet, heartfelt moment in the saloon. James Arness and Amanda Blake even filmed a gentle kiss, simple, classy, and meant to show how much these two had grown to care for each other after all those years side by side. It was a huge moment that could have changed Gunsmoke forever. But CBS executives went into full panic mode the moment they saw it. The network had a strict rule. Marshal Dillon could never be shown in a romantic relationship. They insisted his image remain that of a lone, fearless lawman who didn't have time for love. The order came down fast. The entire storyline was banned. Editors were told to cut out the kiss completely, and the footage was locked away deep in studio storage. Years later, former employees whispered that the reel didn't just stay hidden, it was quietly destroyed so no one could ever recover that forbidden scene. A moment that could have rewritten Gunsmoke history was erased forever, leaving fans to wonder what could have been. The truth was never confirmed, but insiders believe that lost Gunsmoke footage is gone for good, burned, erased, and buried forever. The decision hit the cast hard, especially Amanda Blake. She was devastated. To her, that soft, quiet moment between Miss Kitty and Dillon wasn't just a kiss. It was years of unspoken emotion finally coming to light. She believed fans were ready to see this honest side of Kitty, a moment that showed her heart after all the years of loyalty and restraint. James Arness saw things differently. He wasn't nearly as sentimental about the romance, but he was furious about how tightly CBS controlled every creative choice.
Chester,
Yes, sir.
I guess it's long overdue.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.
Arness felt the network was strangling the show's potential, cutting out anything that dared to challenge the formula. Losing artistic freedom frustrated him deeply, and it created more distance between the cast and the higher-ups running the show. The writers didn't take it well either. They kept trying to sneak in subtle nods to that forbidden romance. Private talks, knowing looks, soft gestures that hinted at something more between Matt and Kitty. But every single time, CBS shut it down without hesitation. The message from the top stayed the same. Marshall Dillon must stay distant. No romance, no vulnerability, no exceptions. The creative team's dreams of deepening the story kept getting crushed again and again. But that wasn't the end of the behind-the-scenes turmoil. Things were about to get physical. During what should have been a routine stagecoach stunt, James Arness faced one of the scariest moments in Gunsmoke history. As the horses sped up, they turned too sharply, throwing the entire coach off balance. Arness was hurled to the ground, and before anyone could react, the massive wooden structure tipped and came crashing down toward him. The set froze in panic as everyone realized this wasn't just another stunt gone wrong. It was a near tragedy caught on camera. The accident was brutal. James Arness ended up with 2 broken ribs and a cracked vertebra. Crew members rushed in, terrified that he might not make it. The cameras had caught the entire moment on film, but the footage was so shocking that CBS immediately classified it as too disturbing to ever be shown. The network locked it away instantly, and years later, insiders claimed it was destroyed completely to keep it from ever leaking out. Everyone on set was ordered to stay silent. CBS made it crystal clear no one was allowed to talk about what really happened. Back then, networks didn't want the public to know their stars were getting seriously hurt. Fans were told Arness had just suffered a minor setback, but behind closed doors, his injuries were far worse than anyone realized. Despite the pain, he pushed himself through grueling recovery sessions, determined to get back in front of the camera. He rarely spoke about it, but those close to him knew how hard he fought to return. But danger seemed to follow the Gunsmoke cast wherever they went. During another shoot, Dennis Weaver faced his own near disaster while filming a river scene. The current that day was far stronger than expected, and in an instant, he lost his footing and slipped into deeper water. His costume soaked up water and became heavy as lead, dragging him down under the surface. At first, some of the crew thought he was just acting, so the cameras kept rolling. But when seconds turned into panic, everyone realized this wasn't part of the scene. Weaver was in real danger. Several crew members dove into the water in a desperate rescue attempt, pulling him out just in time. The chaos on set was pure panic. Once again, CBS covered the whole thing up, calling it a minor incident. In truth, Weaver had come terrifyingly close to drowning, and the footage of his rescue was immediately locked away, seen by only a handful of people before it vanished forever. After Dennis Weaver's terrifying river incident, Gunsmoke avoided filming any major water scenes for quite some time. No one wanted to risk another close call. But just when things started to calm down, disaster struck again. During a high-intensity duel scene involving a stuntman and a trained horse, everything went wrong in seconds. As the horse made a sharp turn, it lost its footing and crashed straight down onto the stuntman. The impact was brutal. He suffered serious injuries and had to be rushed to the hospital immediately. Filming came to a sudden halt, and the entire production went into crisis mode. The script was rewritten on the spot, and the dangerous duel scene was completely erased from the final episode. Because of insurance investigations and legal action, most details about the accident were sealed under strict confidentiality. Crew members were warned not to breathe a word about what really happened, and CBS made sure the public never learned how serious it was. But the hidden drama didn't stop there. Some secrets weren't about stunts at all, but about stories that were never allowed to air. One of the most controversial Gunsmoke moments in history came from a full episode that no viewer ever got to see. The writers had created a bold, groundbreaking script that tackled the issue of racial tension in Dodge City. It showed how prejudice crept into daily life and how Marshal Dillon had to confront it head on. The cast delivered powerful performances, and many believed it was one of the most meaningful stories the series had ever told. But when CBS screened the finished episode for sponsors, the backlash came instantly.
There's a man named Hank Springer lying dead in that jail of yours down the street.
You don't say so.
Who shot him?
Let me see. Come to think of it, I guess I did.
Why?
Maybe he tried to drown me. Maybe I just didn't like his looks.
Several sponsors complained that the subject matter was too risky and might offend parts of the audience. Since Gunsmoke depended heavily on sponsor money, the network caved under pressure and made a shocking decision. The episode would never air. The powerful story that could have made history was buried before anyone outside the studio even knew it existed. CBS yanked the controversial episode before it ever hit the airwaves. It was locked away in storage and never spoken of again. Not one rerun, not one mention, just silence. For years, crew members quietly whispered that it was one of the most powerful and emotional stories they had ever filmed. A moment that could have changed Gunsmoke forever if only the public had seen it. But that wasn't the only buried gem hidden in the archives. Another lost episode centered on Matt Dillon himself, and this one pushed boundaries like never before. The script told a daring, uncomfortable story. Dillon shoots an unarmed man during a heated confrontation. The writers wanted to dig into his moral conflict, showing that even a lawman as respected as Dillon could make a grave mistake. When CBS executives saw the first cut, they freaked out. They said it would ruin the marshal's image and destroy the audience's trust in him. Panic spread through the studio, and production was ordered to remake the entire episode immediately. Editors scrambled to rewrite and recut the footage so it looked like Dillon only wounded the man in self-defense. The original version, the raw, unfiltered one, was sealed away deep in the studio vaults. Some insiders later claimed it was destroyed entirely, erased from existence so it could never resurface. The version that finally aired was quiet and tame, with no hint of the explosive story it once held. Viewers had no idea they were watching a watered-down replacement for what could have been one of Gunsmoke's boldest moments, and the lost stories didn't stop there. The writers once developed a flashback episode that dug into Dillon's past. A raw look at his hard youth filled with heartbreak, loss, and painful lessons before he ever wore the badge. The goal was to give fans a deeper, more human version of their hero. But when the test audience saw it, their reaction was shockingly cold. Too dark, too heavy, too real for the world of Dodge City. Viewers didn't take well to Marshal Dillon's darker backstory. Many said it made him look weaker, less like the untouchable leader they admired. CBS immediately hit the brakes and pulled the entire subplot. Every flashback that showed his painful past was scrapped and replaced with old stock footage to keep things clean, safe, and familiar. Almost nothing from that original emotional storyline survived. To this day, it's as if that version of Gunsmoke never existed at all. But not every scandal on set came from the writer's room. Some happened when the cameras weren't rolling. One of the most whispered about Gunsmoke scandals involved two cast members caught in a secret affair that shocked everyone. The relationship wasn't part of the script, and both stars were already in serious relationships outside of work. The whole thing blew up when a crew member accidentally walked in on them inside a trailer, and by the end of the day, the entire set was buzzing with gossip. What started as whispers turned into wildfire. The rumors spread fast, even reaching beyond the studio lot. CBS moved quickly to contain the situation before the press caught wind of it. Executives pulled both actors into a private meeting and made their warning crystal clear. Keep the affair out of the public eye or risk losing everything. Staff were ordered to stay silent, and no one was allowed to comment to reporters. Back then, a scandal like this could easily destroy careers, and CBS couldn't afford to let Gunsmoke's squeaky clean image crumble. But the fallout didn't stop there. There was a direct hit to the show itself. The two actors were supposed to share a romantic, emotional scene in an upcoming episode, But once the affair was exposed, producers cut it completely. The moment that could have added tenderness to the storyline vanished overnight, all because of what happened behind that trailer door. CBS wanted no connection between what happened off camera and what viewers saw on screen. They didn't want fans linking the secret affair to the romantic chemistry written into the show, so the writers moved fast, completely rewriting the episode overnight. When it finally aired, every trace of romance was gone, replaced with neutral dialogue and distant glances that made sure no one suspected a thing. But the drama on set didn't end there. Amanda Blake, beloved by fans as Miss Kitty, faced her own explosive battle with the production team. The fight started over a new script that she felt deeply insulted her character. Blake believed Miss Kitty was being pushed aside, written as weaker and less important than before. She wanted her role to reflect the strength and independence that fans loved, but the producers refused to make changes. When Blake spoke up, the argument escalated fast. Voices were raised, tempers flared, and producers stood firm, saying the script was final. But Blake wasn't having it. She refused to give in. The tension reached a boiling point, and in a dramatic moment, Amanda Blake walked straight off the set. CBS tried to spin it publicly, calling it a short break. But behind the scenes, everyone knew she'd left out of pure frustration. Just days earlier, she had filmed a lively saloon scene. But after the fallout, that footage was shelved immediately. The producers feared that airing it would only draw attention to the chaos happening behind the scenes. For weeks, fans noticed Miss Kitty's sudden absence and quietly wondered what was going on. But CBS stayed silent, keeping the real story hidden. Eventually, Blake returned once tempers cooled, but the damage was done. Though filming continued, her relationship with certain producers never fully recovered. The tension lingered in the air for the rest of the season, and the set of Gunsmoke would never feel quite the same again. Not all the chaos on the Gunsmoke set came from the regular cast. Sometimes the guest stars caused the biggest scandals. One high-profile actor known for his charm and ego showed up on set completely drunk. The crew hoped he'd sober up before the cameras rolled, but things spiraled out fast. During rehearsal, he suddenly grabbed his prop gun, fired it into the air, and sent everyone into a panic. Cast members screamed, crew members dove for cover, and security rushed in within seconds. Production was shut down on the spot, and CBS executives were furious. Still, despite the chaos, the network refused to fire him. His name was too valuable, a big draw for ratings. Instead, they quietly reworked the episode overnight. Writers cut most of his dialogue, trimmed his role, and handed his best lines to supporting actors. When the episode finally aired, his screen time was so short that viewers never suspected how wild things had gotten behind the scenes.
Mary.
Over there.
Now, that's enough.
So we'll drink up the rest.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to.
To them, it was just another episode. But to the cast, it was a day no one forgot. And that wasn't the only shock CBS tried to keep hidden. There was a time when Gunsmoke came dangerously close to showing the unthinkable, the death of Marshal Matt Dillon himself. During the development of a darker, more experimental episode, the writers created an alternate version where Dillon gets fatally shot. The plan was to explore how Dodge City would react without its lawman and to see if a dramatic ending like that could work. But James Arness hated the idea from the very start. He believed Marshal Dillon represented strength, stability, and moral courage, and killing him, even as a what-if, felt like a betrayal of everything the character stood for. Despite his protests, producers decided to shoot the death scene anyway. They wanted to keep their options open, in case they ever needed a shocking twist or a special two-part storyline. Little did they know, this decision would stir up one of the most heated arguments in Gunsmoke history. James Arness finally gave in and agreed to film the shocking death scene, but everyone could tell he was deeply uneasy about it. He went through with the performance, but his discomfort was obvious. When CBS executives reviewed the footage, the reaction was instant and furious. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Their message came down hard and fast. You can't kill America's marshal. To CBS, Matt Dillon wasn't just a character. He was a symbol of justice and moral strength for millions of viewers. The idea of showing Dillon die, even in a what-if storyline, was considered blasphemy in television terms. Executives feared the scene would devastate audiences, confuse fans, and completely destroy the wholesome image Gunsmoke had built over the years. The order came immediately. Lock that footage away forever. Insiders later claimed CBS hid it so deep in the archives that even internal requests to view it were denied. No one outside a handful of executives ever saw a single frame of Marshall Dillon's death, but the drama didn't end there. Whispers started spreading through the crew that CBS might one day use the scene for a future special, maybe a dramatic finale or anniversary event. When James Arness heard the rumor, he exploded. To him, that footage wasn't just a creative experiment, it was an insult to everything he'd spent years building. Arness stormed into meetings with producers and made his stance crystal clear. If CBS ever even hinted at using that death scene, he'd walk away from Gunsmoke for good. And this wasn't an empty threat. Arness was the heart of the show, and losing him would have ended Gunsmoke overnight. The confrontation sent shockwaves through the production. Tension was so high that filming nearly shut down for an entire week while everyone tried to calm things down. Behind closed doors, the network backed off fast, realizing that pushing any further could destroy the very show they were trying to protect. Eventually, CBS calmed the storm by reassuring James Arness that the controversial death footage would stay buried forever, never to see the light of day. With that promise, filming returned to normal, at least on the surface. But behind the cameras, new problems were brewing that would once again shake the Gunsmoke set. One of the most heartbreaking stories came from Milburn Stone, the beloved actor who brought Doc Adams to life. In his later years, Stone began battling serious health issues that grew worse with time. The long, exhausting filming days became harder and harder for him to handle, and eventually, he had no choice but to take an extended break to recover. To make his temporary absence feel natural, the writers came up with a touching hospital storyline. It showed Doc being treated for a major illness, and Stone's performance was incredibly raw and emotional, so real that it moved crew members to tears. But when CBS reviewed the footage, they made a shocking call. Executives decided it was too intense for television. They said the medical details felt too realistic, too uncomfortable for families watching during the evening slot. Their verdict was final. The entire hospital sequence was deleted, never to be shown. When the episode aired, fans were simply told Doc was away for treatment, with no idea that a powerful and deeply human scene had been cut out completely. The original footage was locked away and has never been seen since. Meanwhile, Amanda Blake, Miss Kitty herself, was fighting her own private battle during her final season. After so many years on the show, she felt drained and increasingly frustrated by how her character was being written. The long hours on set didn't help, and whispers spread that there was growing distance between Blake and James Arness. Neither ever spoke about it publicly, but those close to the production said the tension was impossible to ignore. The once tight bond between Miss Kitty and Marshall Dillon seemed to fade, both on screen and off. During one of the most tense stretches in Gunsmoke's history, Amanda Blake poured her heart into what would become one of her most emotional performances ever. In a fiery barroom confrontation, Miss Kitty finally let her anger out, calling out how often her character had been pushed aside and ignored. The scene was powerful, raw, and brutally honest. Blake's delivery was full of emotion, showing Miss Kitty as a woman tired of being silenced. But when CBS executives screened the footage, they shut it down instantly. They claimed it made Miss Kitty too angry and didn't fit the calm, composed image they wanted for her character. The entire scene was removed before the episode aired, turning what could have been one of Amanda Blake's strongest moments into another piece of lost Gunsmoke history. For her, it was a crushing blow and one of her final unused performances on the show. At the same time, James Arness was battling his own private struggle. His chronic leg pain, an injury he'd carried since World War II, grew worse as the years went on. Some days, even walking was nearly impossible. During one routine filming session, while shooting a simple walking scene, Arness suddenly collapsed in front of the cameras. At first, everyone thought he was just acting, but the panic set in fast when it became clear the fall was real. CBS immediately ordered the footage deleted and reshot the moment once Arness recovered enough to continue. For the audience at home, the Marshal of Dodge City always looked strong and unstoppable, but those on set saw the truth. Arness was pushing through real pain, fighting to keep the show alive, even when his body was telling him to stop.
Hank Springer was shot in the back. That seems to be a habit of yours. You're under arrest for murder.
You've got no authority here.
You had your chance to argue. Put him on. Put him on.
And as if that wasn't enough mystery, whispers began to spread about another hidden treasure from behind the Gunsmoke cameras. A secret outtakes reel that captured rare behind-the-scenes moments. Crew members claimed it was a long compilation of bloopers, on-set accidents, and hilarious slip-ups that showed the cast as fans had never seen them before. One of the most legendary behind-the-scenes stories floating around the Gunsmoke set revolved around James Arness himself. Normally calm and collected, he apparently had his limits, especially when props refused to cooperate. During intense scenes, a door might jam or a gun would misfire, and that's when Arness's patience snapped. Crew members said the outtakes reel showed him grumbling and swearing under his breath in total frustration as everyone tried not to laugh. It was a rare glimpse of the man behind Marshal Dillon losing his cool when the Old West refused to play along. Another memorable moment from the rumored reel featured Amanda Blake during a fancy saloon dance scene. She was spinning gracefully in her long, elegant dress until disaster struck. Her shoe caught the hem, sending her tumbling to the floor mid-turn. But instead of being embarrassed, Blake laughed it off, stood right back up, and kept dancing like a pro. The whole set erupted in laughter, and she spent the rest of the day being teased lovingly by her co-stars for her unexpected dance move. And then came the moment no one on set ever forgot. A horse that picked the absolute worst time to relieve itself. It happened right in the middle of a dramatic close-up scene, shattering the tension with a loud, awkward noise that ruined the take completely. The entire crew burst out laughing, and it took ages to get everyone composed enough to start again. According to long-standing rumors, CBS eventually destroyed that infamous outtakes reel. Executives feared that if it ever leaked, it might make the cast look unprofessional or damage the show's spotless reputation, especially in an era when TV stars were expected to appear flawless at all times. Nothing from the reel has ever surfaced, adding to the mystery and making fans wonder what hilarious moments were lost forever. But the laughter didn't end there. Another famous Gunsmoke legend became known as the Laughing Shootout. It happened during the filming of a serious showdown scene, but for some reason, the cast couldn't stop cracking up. Every time the cameras rolled, someone smirked, another actor giggled, and soon the entire cast was in hysterics, completely ruining take after take. No matter how many takes they tried, the cast just couldn't hold it together. Every time they reset the scene, the tension dissolved into laughter all over again. The Laughing Shootout became legendary on set, an unplanned comedy moment right in the middle of what was supposed to be a deadly serious gunfight. In the end, editors had to piece together the few seconds of footage where no one was cracking a smile just to finish the episode. The full, uncut version, complete with all the laughter, was locked away forever to keep the show's tough, dramatic image intact. But if you thought that was wild, things got even more serious when the government stepped in to shut down an episode. One of the most controversial Gunsmoke storylines ever written centered on corruption among federal agents operating in Dodge City. The plot followed Marshal Dillon as he uncovered a ring of crooked officials abusing their power, taking bribes, threatening citizens, and twisting the law for personal gain. It was bold, risky, and unlike anything the show had tackled before. The cast shot the episode in full, and early network screenings went surprisingly well. CBS staff praised it for being thought-provoking and timely, showing Dillon standing up for justice in a gray, morally complex world. But that all changed when the FBI found out about the episode. Federal officials contacted CBS directly, and their message couldn't have been clearer: this cannot air. They argued that the story might cause the public to lose faith in real federal agents and could even lead to legal complications for the network. The pressure was intense, and CBS didn't hesitate. The episode was pulled from the schedule immediately and quietly shelved, never to be broadcast. To this day, it remains one of Gunsmoke's most mysterious, lost episodes. A story too dangerous for TV, buried because the wrong people saw it at the wrong time. Unlike most Gunsmoke edits that CBS at least tried to explain to the public, this government-blocked episode vanished without a word. There was no statement, no acknowledgement, just silence. Cast and crew were ordered to keep their mouths shut, and the footage was locked deep inside the studio vaults. Some insiders whispered that the master tapes were later destroyed to make sure nothing could ever leak out, though CBS never confirmed it. The mystery still lingers to this day. But that wasn't the only time the network panicked over what happened on screen. Another scene caused serious controversy, but for a completely different reason. In one episode about moral choices and responsibility, the story included a tense moment where a child picked up a gun. It was written to make a powerful point: how quickly a dangerous situation could spiral out of control. The goal was to send a message about caution, not violence. However, timing is everything, and tragedy had just struck the real world. National headlines were filled with devastating stories of gun violence, and CBS freaked out. Executives feared that showing a child holding a gun, even for a second, would be seen as tone-deaf and possibly spark outrage. The decision came down instantly: cut the entire scene. The crew rushed to film a last-minute replacement that flipped the message completely. In the new version, the child learns an important lesson: that guns are dangerous and should never, under any circumstance, be handled without adult supervision. It was a quick fix meant to calm the controversy before it even started. When the revised episode aired, the audience saw a heartfelt moral moment instead of a shocking one, and most had no idea what had been changed. Both of these incidents proved one thing about Gunsmoke: outside pressures, from the government to social backlash, quietly shaped what millions of viewers saw every single week. The censored finale became one of the most explosive behind-the-scenes moments in Gunsmoke history. A shocking new script landed on set, one that called for the death of a beloved character. The idea hit the cast like a thunderbolt. James Arness, Amanda Blake, and Milburn Stone were furious. They believed killing off such an important figure would betray everything the audience loved about the show and completely destroy its emotional balance. The trio refused to stay silent. They flat out refused to film their scenes, effectively putting the production on hold. It was an unprecedented move, one that felt like a mini-strike right in the middle of shooting. CBS executives went into full-blown panic mode. Losing the main cast, even for a few days, could have derailed the entire episode and delayed the season's schedule overnight. Behind the scenes, chaos took over as network executives and writers scrambled to fix the problem. After frantic all-night meetings, CBS finally backed down. The death was canceled, the character's life was spared, and the script was rewritten to keep the drama alive without crossing the emotional line that had pushed the stars to the edge. The rewrite saved the episode, but not the tension. The atmosphere on set stayed icy for days, with cast and crew walking on eggshells. But here's the twist. One scene had already been filmed before the revolt. It showed a chilling moment inside the Long Branch Saloon where a body was discovered under dim lighting and eerie silence.
You got something against marriage?
No, I just ain't found the gal.
Well, a nice, steady young man like you shouldn't have any trouble.
The scene was incredibly realistic, with dark makeup and props that made it disturbingly graphic for 1960s television. CBS executives, horrified by how grim it looked, immediately ordered it cut and hidden away. It never aired, and the public had no idea how close Gunsmoke came to delivering one of the darkest finales in TV Western history. When CBS executives finally viewed the chilling footage, their decision came instantly. It could never air. They declared it far too dark, violent, and hopeless for Gunsmoke, a show that had always balanced gritty realism with moral order and justice. The scene was officially labeled unbroadcastable and immediately locked away deep in the CBS vaults, never to be seen again. For years, no one dared to bring it up. Cast and crew members quietly avoided the subject, fully aware it had become a forbidden chapter in the show's history. After the near revolt on set, an unspoken truce formed between the actors, writers, and executives. No one would ever publicly mention what happened or how close Gunsmoke came to breaking apart over that scene. The truth lived only in whispers and rare interviews decades later, when a few former cast members finally hinted at the chaos that had once erupted behind those studio doors. The episode that eventually aired was a much softer, carefully sanitized version of what had been planned. The original footage stayed locked away as a hidden reminder of how fiercely the Gunsmoke cast protected both their show and their characters' integrity. It was proof that behind the polished Western facade lay a world full of secrets, risks, and quiet rebellions that never made it to air. And there you have it, the hidden chaos of Gunsmoke. From secret affairs and dangerous stunts to banned scenes and cast showdowns, the real drama didn't happen in Dodge City. It happened behind the camera. The show that defined TV's golden Western era was far wilder and more unpredictable than anyone watching at home could have imagined. If you enjoyed uncovering these lost Hollywood stories, hit that like button, subscribe for more untold deep dives, and ring the notification bell so you never miss the next episode of Untold Hollywood Stories. And don't forget, drop a comment below and tell us which hidden Gunsmoke secret shocked you the most.